Welcome to my channel TechSecGo. The excitement is building once again in the Apple community because all signs point to a brand new Apple TV 4K being right around the corner. And this next generation device is shaping up to be far more than a simple refresh. Apple's streaming box has not seen a major hardware update since 2022, which feels like a lifetime ago in the world of fast-moving technology. Over the past couple of years, tvOS has continued to evolve with steady software improvements. But the physical box itself has remained unchanged, leaving enthusiasts and smart home users wondering when Apple would finally give this cornerstone device the attention it deserves. Now in 2025, we are hearing from multiple industry analysts, software leaks, and hardware supply chain insiders that Apple is preparing to unleash a thinner, more powerful, and significantly smarter Apple TV 4K that will redefine how this small puck-shaped device fits into the broader Apple ecosystem. Today, I'm going to walk you through all the biggest rumors, leaks, and insider whispers about the upcoming Apple TV 4K for 2025. Breaking down the expected design, chip upgrades, wireless improvements, software intelligence, possible camera integration, and even the release date. By the end, you'll have a full picture of why many are calling this the most important Apple TV update in years. Let's start with design changes, because the Apple TV has looked more or less the same since the very first HD model years ago. The word on the street is that the 2025 Apple TV 4K is going to be noticeably thinner than its predecessor, while still retaining that clean, puck-like aesthetic that allows it to fit neatly under a television or within a media console. Apple has always valued minimalist design, and shrinking down the hardware while packing in more advanced internals would be a classic Apple move. Some reports suggest we will once again see two distinct models: a lower cost entry model for casual users and a slightly more premium version that includes extras like hardwired Ethernet support and thread networking capabilities, making it a stronger hub for Apple's smart home strategy. This dual model approach makes sense as it allows Apple to target both the mainstream streaming crowd and the dedicated HomeKit power users who want maximum performance for their connected homes. Of course, a design change alone wouldn't be enough to get Apple fans excited. The real story with this Apple TV is the internal upgrades, starting with the processor. The current generation launched with the A17 Bionic, which was solid for its time. But as games, streaming demands, and A-driven features become more intensive, it's time for something much stronger. The leaks strongly point to the new Apple TV being powered by either the A18 chip or possibly the A18 Pro, the same level of silicon that Apple is expected to use in its flagship iPhone 17 Pro models. This would be a massive leap forward, not just in raw CPU and GPU performance, but also in machine learning capabilities, which are increasingly important for Apple's ecosystem. Early information uncovered in iOS 18 source code shows references to Apple TV hardware identifiers tied to the A18 architecture, and that lines up perfectly with the rumor mill. Now, why does this matter so much? Because a jump to the A18 or A18 Pro would also mean the Apple TV could finally double its memory from 4 GB to 8 GB of RAM. That change isn't just about making menus snappier. It is critical for supporting Apple Intelligence, Apple's new suite of on-device AI features that the company is pushing across iPhone, iPad, and Mac. Apple Intelligence requires at least 8 GB of memory to run locally, and bringing it to the Apple TV opens up an entirely new world of functionality. Imagine a much smarter version of Siri on your television, capable of natural conversations that feel closer to how you would speak to a friend. You could ask, "Show me Tom Hanks movies," and then follow up with, "Only the animated ones," or even actually filter by comedies from the last 5 years. Instead of misunderstanding you or requiring awkward rephrasing, Siri, with Apple Intelligence, would interpret your intent and refine its answers dynamically. For families or heavy streaming users, this is a game-maker, but it doesn't stop there. With Apple Intelligence built into the Apple TV, Siri could go beyond content recommendations. You could control your entire smart home ecosystem seamlessly, saying things like, "Dim the dining room lights," then correcting yourself with, "Actually, I mean the kitchen," without needing to start over. The system would understand context, preferences, and even the kinds of slip-ups humans naturally make when talking. And since Apple Intelligence is designed to run locally on device as much as possible, Privacy-conscious users can feel confident that their personal viewing habits and smart home data aren't being shipped off to the cloud. This local AI-first approach is one of Apple's most important differentiators compared to competing platforms, like Google TV or Amazon Fire TV. Moving on, let's talk about tvOS 26, which recently entered beta testing. This software update includes notable improvements, such as an enhanced FaceTime app, redesigned contact cards, and more fluid communication features. At first glance, these might look like niche updates, but when you connect the dots, they seem to hint at a much larger hardware move. Why would Apple put so much emphasis on FaceTime for Apple TV, unless they were preparing for a built-in camera, or at least an official camera accessory? Multiple rumors suggest that Apple may introduce a camera either integrated into the high-end Apple TV model or sold as an optional add-on. This would transform the Apple TV into a true living room communication hub, allowing group video calls, fitness workouts with motion tracking, and even AI-powered gesture recognition, considering Apple's recent push into fitness with Apple Fitness Plus, and spatial computing with Vision Pro. A camera-equipped Apple TV makes perfect sense for 2025. Another big rumor involves Apple's in-house Proxima wireless chip, which has been gradually leaking through iOS source code and analyst reports. Apple is believed to be working on its own networking chips to reduce dependency on third-party suppliers and to better optimize connectivity across its devices. For the Apple TV, this means support for Wi-Fi 6E or even Wi-Fi 7, depending on which version of the chip Apple decides to include. Wi-Fi 7 would be particularly exciting, offering massive bandwidth improvements, lower latency, and rock-solid connections for streaming 4K HDR or even 8K content in the future. For households where multiple devices are streaming, gaming, and syncing simultaneously, this upgrade could significantly reduce buffering and improve reliability. On top of that, Bluetooth will likely be upgraded as well, possibly to Bluetooth 5.4, which improves range, reliability, and support for newer accessories, like spatial audio-enabled AirPods. Speaking of audio, it's worth noting that the Apple TV plays an increasingly important role as the centerpiece of Apple's home theater strategy. Apple has been positioning HomePods as high-quality external speakers that can pair with the Apple TV to deliver surround sound and Dolby Atmos experiences. If the rumors are correct, Apple could launch new HomePods around the same time as the Apple TV 4K refresh, making it a bundled announcement. This would give users a reason to invest in a full Apple-powered living room ecosystem. Where the Apple TV is the brain, HomePods are the ears, and potentially a new Apple camera module becomes the eyes. Combined with tvOS 26's FaceTime and smart communication tools, the living room truly becomes a multi-purpose hub for entertainment, fitness, communication, and smart home control. Now let's tackle the release date because this is where things get interesting. Some early speculation suggested Apple might drop the new Apple TV as early as spring 2025. Possibly alongside the long-rumored Apple Smart Display. However, more recent reports from reliable sources indicate that Apple is targeting the second half of 2025 for this launch. That likely means a fall release window, which would align perfectly with Apple's traditional product cycle and allow the company to pair the Apple TV launch with other ecosystem products like HomePods or even new iPads. Fall is also a time when tvOS updates typically go public. So releasing the Apple TV 4K alongside tvOS 26 feels like the most logical move. If that timeline holds true, we're only a matter of weeks or months away from seeing Apple formally unveil its most advanced streaming box yet. Because the Apple TV 4K 2025 could end up being the device that finally pushes Apple beyond being just another streaming box maker with a thinner design, A17 power, Apple Intelligence integration, Proxima wireless chips, potential camera support, and deep ties into HomeKit and HomePods. The Apple TV has the potential to be the nerve center of the modern smart home. It won't just be about watching Netflix or Apple TV Plus. It will be about unifying entertainment, communication, artificial intelligence, and smart living into a single seamless platform that feels distinctly Apple. And in a world where streaming devices are often seen as disposable, Apple may finally prove that the Apple TV deserves its premium price tag by offering features no other competitor can match.